And welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs. That man over there is Chris Wilds. We're thankful to have you drop in tonight. And Chris, some big recruiting news fell into our lap today. And wouldn't you know, it didn't involve Ohio State, but rather it involved a former Buckeye running back coach and Tony Alford and that team up north going after a kid from Ohio, and they didn't get him. But Ohio State didn't get him either. And just like we've been talking about for months now, them pesky Wildcats down there in Kentucky came up to Ohio, swooped in, and got one of the better running backs in the Midwest right out from under Ohio State. And more importantly, though, right out from under Tony Alford and those terrible people up north in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And so even though we didn't get the running back, neither did they. And it kind of feels like a win today. I'm not going to lie.
Don't start that, Eric. You're sounding like a Michigan fan. When somebody else's loss is your win, you know, since you
Of
have
course, we're
nothing to hang your hat on.
Of course, we're talking about Marquise Davis, one of the top running backs in the nation, according to 247 Sports Composite. He was the 11th highest ranked running back, seventh in the state of Ohio overall, 165th top recruit in the country. So he's a top 200 guy. He would have easily been the top recruit for the Wolverines if they would have landed him. And, there's a lot of crystal balls that were placed for him. A lot of Wolverine fans thought they were going to get him, and alas, they did not. The recruiting woes continue for
Yeah.
them up north. So, Chris, how make heads or tails of what this, and of course, we're going to talk about why this probably happened.
Well, I think there's many reasons. Obviously, as you mentioned, Kentucky's been very actively recruiting Ohio, and with Davis's primary recruiter being Mike Hart, how much did things fall off when Hart departed the program?
Yeah, but Tony Alford was also recruiting him from Ohio
Well,
State as
but
well.
Tony Alford has a history of just swinging and missing when it comes to landing the top recruits. I mean,
hmm
you look back at his history. What real top recruit did he nail? J.K. out of Texas,
Dobbins was well, Travion Henderson was the highest ranked one he
ranked
got.
one, yeah. But the most I would say the most successful to this point has definitely been J.K. So I think there was, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not a Mike Hart fan. I am not a Michigan fan. But as we've talked about on the show, despite the fact that I would not want him wandering our sidelines, I feel that Mike Hart was definitely, when you step down to Tony Alford, it was definitely taking a step backwards, specifically in recruiting. Um,
Definitely in development.
Definitely in development. And then you also look, I mean, obviously, there's still questions looming. Is Michigan going to receive a postseason ban? I think they will. Is Michigan still going to have coaches that may receive suspensions out of this with show cause? Maybe. There's still a lot of questions surrounding this program. And the Michigan fans want to say, hey, it's over. It's over. We got our suspensions. No, you got your suspensions for Burgergate. They're looking into the real things now. And as we've talked about previously, Eric, they've even added extra investigators, which means they're ramping this investigation up. So that is definitely something that I think plays on the mind of these recruits.
Well, obviously, as a Michigan fan, you would probably feel that you're being negatively recruited against. But my response to that would be, duh. Like
Yeah,
everybody, it's not just Ohio State that's probably negatively recruiting the fact that you have some possible NCAA violations and punishment coming down the pike, but everybody around you is probably going to mention those things to the people who you're trying to recruit. Look at Arizona State.
hmm
Let's take them for instance. They were just punished by the NCAA. It wasn't the death penalty, but in the past 3 years, their recruiting has dipped so bad because of the looming punishment out ahead that everybody around them could easily negatively recruit them. And I think that's kind of what's going on here.
And it doesn't have to be a death penalty anymore, Eric, because just a serious enough bowl ban is going to be the equivalent of a death period or of a death penalty for a blue blood program. It's going to set your recruiting back years. And another thing, like you mentioned, Ohio and Ohio's recruits used to be Ohio State or Michigan if they were top tier recruits. Kentucky's in the mix now.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I despise Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame is in the mix now.
Mm-hmm.
I love Luke Fickell, but you know what? He's got a great recruiting base in Ohio from his time as a Buckeye into Cincinnati. It's no longer Ohio State simply owning the state or Ohio State and Michigan fighting over recruits. There are now at least 5 to 6 serious programs that have their hands in the state of Ohio and have good inroads to the recruits in the state of Ohio.
And there's yes, you're right, but there's another piece of the puzzle that you need to put into that equation when you talk about Wisconsin coming recruiting here, Notre Dame recruiting here, Kentucky recruiting here, Michigan State's got a new head coach, them recruiting here, Cincinnati obviously in the state of Ohio, and that's NIL. You are getting a
Mhm.
lot of people who root for the maize and blue complaining that this was an NIL thing, that this was a young man going out and getting his bag, if you would say. Steve Dace, who's from the Michigan podcast, made a snide comment today, obviously in anger from him choosing Kentucky over Michigan. And then you have this beautiful tweet today from our boy James Yoder, who basically is mocking some of those in the Michigan media. He quote Michigan cooled on him. Not a committable offer, unquote. That's from Sam Webb. That's what he's saying. Probably. There is no way in the world he had an uncommittable offer from Michigan. There's no way. They wanted him. The fan base wanted him. They thought they were going to get him. And then Michigan cooled on him. I don't believe that for a second, Chris. I'm sorry.
A team that just cheated their way to a national title is complaining about how someone is taking unfair advantage of an actual rule that exists. I mean, that's what this is. They are whining about how unfair the game is becoming due to NIL, yet they had no problem cheating their way to a title the last couple of years, cheating their way to division titles, cheating their way to conference titles, cheating their way to a national title. They had no problem with that. But the minute someone does something that is completely legitimate now, granted, we have both agreed in the past, something needs to be done to rein in NIL. I still agree with that. But you know what? No one did anything wrong as far as the NIL rules are written right now. So stop crying about it. When you sent another coach or a coach onto another team's sidelines to advance scout for you during the season, don't cry about a legitimate rule when you sent people with video cameras to take video surveillance of games in the same season and in an NCAA violation. You had no problem with that. But you now all of a sudden have a problem with a legitimate process which is now in place. Get over it. NIL, whether we like it or not, and we've talked about this in the past, I'm a purist. I do not like NIL. But at the same time, it's here. We have to deal with it. Get over it. NIL is not the only reason that this kid did not come to Michigan.
So what is the reason?
I think it comes down to the fact that you have the looming suspensions. I think that no matter how much Tony Alford wants to say how great they are, how great their culture is, I think right now there is a toxic culture in Ann Arbor. There's no other reason for the guys transferring out to have. Jim Harbaugh created this mystique this I guess it was a winning culture while he was there. But players and coaches alike can see he took it with him when he went. He took his bag, ran to the NFL to avoid any kind of penalty, and left that Michigan program in disarray, in complete chaos. No recruit who is hoping to win a national title, no recruit who wants to be a Heisman candidate, no recruit who wants to go on to excel at the next level is going to want to be restricted by the situation that's in Ann Arbor right now. I don't. There's a reason that they don't have any 4 and 5 star recruits to this point. There's a reason. And it's not history, because whether we like it or not, Michigan is a blue blood in college football. They have a great football history. Granted, it was a century ago, but they've got a great football history. They are just a toxic culture right now. They are in a very bad spot with the NCAA, who, as we've talked about again before, is out to show they still have teeth. I think that players and coaches do not want to be associated with that. I still go back to the fact that I think the only reason that Tony Alford is up there is because he truly believes that Sharon Moore will be gone on a show cause by mid-season, and he thinks he's going to slide in as a head coach.
Well, if that's the case,
This is
buckle. They need to buckle up, because this is just another example. They thought they were getting a great recruiter, that they were getting a better recruiter than what Mike Hart was. He's not.
no,
You just saw that.
he can't develop the way that Mike Hart did. I mean,
You
you look
guys
at
out recruited him for Marshall the year before,
yeah,
which was Mr. Ohio, and they're thinking, oh, we're going to get back to back Mr. Ohio's out of the state of out of the Buckeye State, and it didn't happen. Ohio State fans tried to warn them about Tony Alford. Sometimes you get what you deserve, right? Isn't that a Rolling Stones song?
yeah.
We don't always get what we
But you
want,
want, but you always get what you
but we
need.
get what we need. They need Tony Alford.
They,
They need
they,
each other.
they needed a kick in the groin, and they got it.
Like, share, subscribe. You know the deal. We appreciate you listening. If you're from that team up north, you're one of them trolls. We appreciate your coin, and we appreciate you commenting. The algorithm likes that too. So you just keep commenting, keep hating, and we'll just keep taking your money. Appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe. We will be live every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern right here on YouTube. And we do our call-in show every Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. Again, right here on YouTube. Till next time, Chris. OH.
I O.